In Israel, saying someone is Arab doesn't mean that they're actually Arab Jews. There's a different designation for Arab Jews. They're still considered Jews. In Israel, you can only be Arab if you're fucking Muslim or Christian. Palestinians are considered Arab. Here, we'll watch the Jake Tapper video.
Asked the former Deputy Director of National Intelligence in the U.S., Beth Sanner, what she thought President Biden could be doing differently regarding Israel.
I think that one of the things we can certainly do is lay down very, very firmly what Israel cannot do in the West Bank, because that is the thing that's going to blow up in our faces, and that makes a two-state solution impossible.
Sanner's point is important because with the world focused on Gaza, key members of the Netanyahu cabinet, the coalition government that he formed, key members of that cabinet are throwing fire on the flames in the West Bank and in Israel. In the Israeli newspaper Haaretz on Monday of this week, columnist Odeh Bisharat called out two of the members of the Netanyahu cabinet for taking advantage of the Hamas attacks, taking advantage and using the attacks to advance their racist, anti-Arab agenda. Let's start in the West Bank, as Sanner suggested we should, with Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. Smotrich is a hateful anti-Arab bigot. He's a far-right politician in the Netanyahu coalition, and he has broad powers over civilian issues.
It's wild to see Jake Tapper remember that he's a liberal. He's supposed to be a liberal. It's crazy. Because you guys know, Progressive Accept Palestine is like a classic, right? It's a certified classic in the Western world. Might be a holdout of the fact that like Israel originally was supposed to be this like socialist country. Could be that. USSR support could be that. I don't fucking know. But this far out from its inception, as we have a much better understanding of what happened in 1948 now, okay? And you know, looking at the circumstances at play with the far right Israeli government that openly says they want Donald Trump and love Donald Trump and celebrate Donald Trump. The fact that like they're behaving in whichever far right, violent, ideologically fascist ways is ridiculous when you ostensibly consider yourself to be a liberal.
In the West Bank. Haaretz reports that since October 7th, more than 170 Palestinians have been killed in clashes with Israelis across the West Bank. Now, way back in 2005, when Israel was withdrawing from Gaza, Smotrich was arrested by the Israeli security services, the Shin Bet. Smotrich was arrested under suspicion of planning terrorist attacks. He was held by the Shin Bet for 3 weeks. He was suspected of planning to block major public roads and damage infrastructure. That's according to Yediot Achronot, a major Israeli newspaper. In 2019, the former deputy head of the Shin Bet called Smotrich a, quote, Jewish terrorist. That's according to Israel's Channel 13. Now, Smotrich denies those claims. He stated he was proud of his role in opposing Israel's expulsion from Gaza, quote, noting that he was freed without any charges being filed against him, according to a report from the Times of Israel. Now, Bisharat writes in Haaretz on Monday of this week that Smotrich, quote, sees the disaster that has befallen the country as an opportunity to...
Bro, Smotrich literally wrote a manifesto on how to do ethnic cleansing, which it seems the Israeli government is like following to a fucking T.
Plunder the West Bank. The settlers, who share his messianic ideology, have begun to carry out their plans to purge the area of its Palestinian population, unquote. As with this...
Kind of crazy seeing Jake Tapper say things like, you know, an Israeli Knesset member is a terrorist, which is true. And also, he is one of messianic ideology that is inherently dangerous and far right. These are objectively true things. You will never fucking hear them up until this moment from the motherfucking mainstream press. Is crazy to hear this shit. Perhaps now the neoliberal, I'm actually a progressive, by the way, debate Andes will also change their minds now that they're seeing even Jake Tapper actually talk about the truth.
This scene you see of armed Israeli settlers, zealots, extremists, harassing Palestinians, wreaking havoc in the West Bank. And then there's the Minister of National Security, Itamar Ben-Gvir. Quote, immediately upon hearing of the criminal Hamas attacks, Bisharat writes, Ben-Gvir was calling for a sequel to the 2021 Arab-Jewish riots in order to devour what is left of Israeli democracy, unquote. This includes armed militias, subordinate to Ben-Gvir, wandering the streets of Tel Aviv. And, quote, the thought police, hard at work, arresting civics teacher Dr. Meir Baruchin for posts on Facebook opposing the Israeli army's operations in Gaza and for showing compassion for Palestinian suffering, unquote. Of course, Ben-Gvir's first targets, he writes, Israel's Arab citizens who have been harassed, indicted, and arrested. Quote, not only is the blood of human beings being spilled, so is the blood of Israeli democracy, or what is left of it. Around it, a crazed band is dancing joyfully. Ben-Gvir, quote, has declared war on the Arab community, and not a single word of criticism has been uttered by the Israeli mainstream against this shameful spectacle, unquote. Yesterday, Ben-Gvir posted this video bragging about how Hamas terrorists are receiving, quote, the most stringent conditions. 8 handcuffed terrorists in a dark cell, iron beds, toilets in a hole in the floor. To which Israeli citizen Gil Dickman tweeted to Minister Ben-Gvir, quote, Itamar, I'm begging. My cousin is now in the hands of Hamas. He was kidnapped, his cousin. Your words about the dark dungeon, the hole in the floor, the handcuffs, and the humiliation put her in real danger. Your every tweet is a match that burns the hearts of our families. I'm begging, Itamar. There are Israelis there whose life and death are in the hands of your tongue. Please stop, unquote. But thinking about such things does not really seem to be Ben-Gvir's way. He is an openly racist, anti-Arab member of a far, far, far right party that Netanyahu joined with to form his coalition. Ben-Gvir's vile views, we should know, are no surprise. Until 2020, Ben-Gvir had a portrait in his home of Baruch Goldstein. Baruch Goldstein is a Jewish terrorist.
That's crazy, dog. It's like, what happened, bro? Jake Tapper watched my broadcast, I think, from like October 8th or October 9th. A lot of you, if you've been in here for the past month and a half, have heard me say all of these things. These are true things. It took them a month and a half, and like 12,000 Palestinians, 73%, are elderly women and children, to be murdered for them to come to this conclusion that, like, maybe this is not great. Maybe things that are happening with this genocidal apartheid regime are not being done with the most honest intentions in Gaza.
Who murdered 29 Palestinian worshipers in the 1994 Cave of the Patriarchs massacre. In 2015, Ben-Gvir attended a notorious, quote, wedding of hate in the West Bank. At this wedding of hate, the murder of Palestinians was celebrated, including the murder of a Palestinian infant. It's sick. Now, in January, it seems like 100 years ago, but it was only 10 months ago, I asked,
how can an Arab Jew be anti-Arab? Great question, my friend. I don't know. Ask the Israeli the Israeli demographers. I don't know. Some of the most viciously anti-Arab motherfuckers in Israel are the Arab Jews, by the way. In Israel, saying someone is Arab doesn't mean that they're actually Arab Jews. There's a different designation for Arab Jews. They're still considered Jews. In Israel, you can only be Arab if you're fucking Muslim or Christian. Palestinians are considered Arab. No, it's a little different than Clandis Owens. It is a little different than Clandis Owens, actually. Because Clandis Owens is a black woman who is a white supremacist. Arab Jews do not consider themselves to be Arab, but considers themselves to be Jews, and the Israeli government makes that distinction. By the way, have you checked out this WAPO visual investigations video reconstructing how Hamas overcame Israel's high-tech border wall on October 7th? No, I have not. I have not seen this. How Hamas exploited Israel's reliance on tech breach barrier October 7th. This is actually really interesting. I'll take a look at it. Every time I've been physically harassed, guns pointed in my face, or detained traveling through Palestine has been Mizrahi Sephardic Druze. Yeah. This is why Felix makes this joke all the time. Like, you see Ashkenazi Jews in positions of power like Netanyahu and stuff. But if you look at like a lot of the Ashkenazi Jews in Israel, like they're the ones who are, you know, they're living in the kibbutz. They're the ones who are in the parties like the Hello Friend Party for the end of the Hello Friend Party for the end of the apartheid. Not even Hello Handshake Party, like shit like that. Now, obviously, there's you know, really fucking rugged psychopathic fascists in the amongst the Ashkenazi Jewish population as well, and there's also a deliberate attempt to try and make Israel as white as possible too. That's another issue. But having said that, yes, the most aggro motherfuckers are the Arab Jews usually.
Prime Minister Netanyahu, about these two anti-Arab racists, these extremists in his government. You have appointed some individuals, controversial figures, not part of your party.
Controversial figures. Jake Tapper, that's a terrorist, dog. You knew that was a terrorist in January 31st. I knew that was a terrorist in January 31st.
Including ultranationalists Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir.
They joined the Likud. I didn't join them.
Right.
And I direct policy. I'm governing. I've got my two hands on the wheel, and believe me, it's going to be a good direction.
Yeah, real good direction, dude.
Smotrich just called himself a fascist homophobe. He suggested same-sex.
It's true. I forget that part. That's so funny. Hey, guys, that's not someone else calling him that. No, he's like, no, I'm a fascist homophobe. Like, that's a villain.
Marriage is like incest. The former deputy director.
Wait. Let's run that back. Hold on.
He's suggested same-sex marriage.
Two hands on the wheel, and believe me, it's going to be a good direction.
Smotrich just called himself a fascist homophobe. He's suggested same-sex marriage is like incest. The former deputy director of Shin Bet said he was a Jewish terrorist, that he tried to stage an event when the Gaza.
I love him being like, LGBT marriage is like incest, except incest is good, by the way, and fine, as long as it's not like LGBT marriage.
Pullout was going on. And the other day he was saying that he was putting out these horrible conspiracy theories. You must have seen this about the Shin Bet and the assassination of Rabin. I mean, these seem like rather extreme individuals.
Yeah, well, a lot of people say a lot of things when they're not in power, and they sort of to power. And that's certainly the...
Yeah, they totally did that. It was really cool when they did that, by the way. Tempered themselves when they got into power. This, of course, predates the actual... For the record, this interview predates the actual protest that happened in Israel due to the neutering of the Supreme Court, which is supposed to be a secular institution. So, like, he is so fucking, he was always wrong. He knew that they were not tempered. He knew that they were not supposed to be tempered. He made assurances to these fucking freaks.
Look, I'm controlling the government, and I'm responsible for its policies, and the policies are sensible, and they're responsible, and they'll continue to be that.
They didn't temper themselves once they got into power. They didn't. And if Netanyahu's hands are on the wheel, the question for Netanyahu is, does he stand by the extremism?
Yes, Netanyahu is also an extremist. What the fuck? Come on, Jake. You're tapping ass. Tap it all the way. Tap it all the way, baby. Tap that ass. You can't tap it halfway. He's literally doing ass tapping. Okay? He's doing ass tapping so hard I forgot that we're on the top of the hour ad break. And now I'm running it in the middle of the fucking hour. Okay? I'm tapping the top of the hour ad break. Now, if you want to tap in to the top of the hour and no longer see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe for $5 or free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, where you get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. NabLob16, thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Chat, who are the anti-Zionist Jewish authors that Hasan references? Avi Shlaim and Ilan Pappé are the two most common ones that I reference. Norm Finkelstein is another one. Gabor Mate is not an, I mean, he's a physician. Noam Chomsky. Gideon Levy is good as well. He's a journalist. He's very good. Oh, it says Seth Rogen. Okay, dude, chill.
Of these two cabinet ministers, because it's not just the presence of Smotrich and Ben-Gvir in the Israeli government, it is the policies that they are enforcing in the West Bank and in Israel that are clearly inconsistent with the image Israel is portraying to the Western world at this crucial moment in Israel's existence that needs to be challenged. Coming up next, I'm going to talk with the parents of an American man.
Edward Said and Rashid Khalidi are also two great Palestinian authors and scholars as well on Palestinian history. Edward Said, probably one of the most important scholars on not just like Palestinians in general, but also Orientalism. Highly recommend his work as well.
Kidnap.
It will help you contextualize the anti-Arab, anti-Muslim sentiment that has been so important in the Western world for many, many years, all the way into the American War on Terror. Almost perfectly in line.
And being held prisoner and hostage by the terrorists of Hamas. Earlier,
Rashid Khalidi is a Palestinian historian. Amir Haas is the only Jewish journalist who I think lives in the West Bank. Yeah, Amir Haas is great as well. I don't know where she lives.